Tom Cruise in Edge of Tomorrow 2, news about Shrek 5, and active support for Nicolas Cage in the Spider-Man Noir series. All this and much more now in KinoCheck News. Great news for all fans of the sci-fi blockbuster Edge of Tomorrow. Just in time for the 10th anniversary of the time loop blockbuster, director Doug Liman keeps raising hopes that a second part could still be made. Talking to Empire ahead of the release of his latest film, The Instigators, Liman confirmed that the sequel to Edge of Tomorrow is not yet off the table. "No, we keep talking about it," he said, and "we" refers to Tom Cruise, who played one of the leading roles in Part 1. In fact, Liman and Cruise recently rewatched the first movie together and came to the conclusion that they still loved it. So it'll remain exciting to discover if and when the duo will finally find an opportunity to realize the sequel. According to actress Emily Blunt, a first script already seems to exist. Although Edge of Tomorrow was celebrated by critics and fans, it was not a particularly big hit. With a budget of $178 million, it only made $370 million at the box office. This could have been one reason why the sequel fizzled out over the following years. Finally, the release date for the 5th installment of the popular Shrek franchise has been fixed. As Variety reports, the lovable ogre and his friends will return to the big screen on July 1st, 2026. DreamWorks Animation also announced in a short teaser that the familiar cast led by Mike Myers as Shrek, Eddie Murphy as his faithful companion Donkey, and Cameron Diaz as Princess Fiona will be returning. It's currently unknown whether Antonio Banderas and thus Puss in Boots will also feature in the 5th film. Shrek 5 will be directed by Walt Dorn, who previously worked as a writer on Shrek 2 and Shrek the Third, and also provided the voice to Rumpelstiltskin in Shrek Forever After. There are no updates so far on the supposedly planned Donkey spin-off, which was announced by Eddie Murphy in an interview with Collider a few weeks ago. But this is likely to be a long time coming anyway. Amazon's Spider-Man Noir series is making further progress. A couple of new actors have now been confirmed for the project. One is the Banshees of Inisherin actor Brendan Gleeson, who, according to Variety, is set to take on the role of the villain in Spider-Man Noir. Also joining the cast is Lamorne Norris, known for New Girl and Fargo. Based on initial information, Norris will play the journalist Robbie Robertson, who should already be familiar to Spider-Man fans. He's likely to encounter a has-been private investigator, played by Nicolas Cage, who imposes law and order in 1930s New York. Spider-Man Noir is an alternate version of Spider-Man, and was already seen in Sony's Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. However, the series will be about a different version of the character. Filming is set to begin this September. The eagerly awaited series could then be released next year via Amazon Prime Video. The end is near. James Wan's hugely successful horror film series is coming to a close with The Conjuring 4. The release date has now been revealed. According to Variety, The Conjuring 4 Last Rites will be released in theaters on September 5th, 2025. However, the grand finale will not be directed by James Wan, as many had hoped, but by Michael Chaves. He has already been involved in The Conjuring 3 The Devil Made Me Do It, as well as The Nun 2 and The Curse of La Llorona. The screenplay is in the work of David Leslie Johnson McGoldrick, who was already responsible for Part 2 and Part 3 of the film series. According to initial information, filming is set to begin this summer. Although this will be the last reunion with Ed and Lorraine Warren for the time being, who will, of course, once again be played by Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga in Part 4, there is no reason to be sad. Chaves has already announced that there's still enough material for another story with the demon Valak from The Nun. A The Conjuring series under the direction of James Wan has also been announced, which will take place after the events of the movies. Bad news for all DC fans. Warner Bros. Is discontinuing work on the Arkham Asylum series by Matt Reeves. This was announced by Variety. However, this is not particularly surprising, as the series had been struggling with significant problems in recent years. Arkham Asylum was originally planned under the title Gotham Central as an extension of the Batman universe, and was to deal with the internal operations of the Gotham Police Department. Terrence Winter was initially set to be the writer and executive producer, but left the project in November 2020 due to creative differences. Joe Barton was then hired as a writer, but he too was ultimately dismissed by Warner Bros. In October 2022, director Matt Reeves then commented on the status of the series and announced that Gotham PD, as it was titled at the time, would no longer be made. Instead, they want to focus on a story about the infamous Arkham Asylum prison. Antonio Campos, known for Netflix's Punisher series, was appointed as showrunner. However, he didn't stay long either, as James Gunn and Peter Safran took over the management of DC shortly afterwards and began a major restructuring process. Gunn explained in a social media post in December 2023 that although the show was still in development, it would be set in a different universe, and therefore not in the same world as the Batman. It's still possible, though, that a new project set in Gotham City's infamous asylum will be developed in the future. Until then, Gotham fans should still have plenty to look forward to. After all, we can still expect the Penguin series with Colin Farrell, as well as the Batman 2, which is scheduled to be released in movie theaters on October 2nd, 2026. With A Fistful of Dollars, Sergio Leone directed one of the most popular and important westerns in film history in 1964. 60 years later, the classic is now to be revived in the form of a remake. According to Deadline, Gianni Nunari and Simon Horseman, known for The Departed and Seven, as well as Italian production veteran Enzo Sisti, are behind the remake of A Fistful of Dollars. There are no details yet on a possible cast or director, as the project is still at an early stage of development. What is certain, however, is that the remake is set to make a splash. A Fistful of Dollars, which was already a US remake of Akira Kurosawa's Yojimbo, tells the story of an unmanned gunslinger who puts two feuding families against each other in a town. The film not only marked the beginning of the so-called spaghetti western, but also led to two sequels, For a Few Dollars More and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, which also received cult status. Moreover, lead actor Clint Eastwood celebrated his breakthrough as a film actor with the Dollars trilogy. We're excited to find out what a modern version of the famous spaghetti western will look like, and of course, who will take on the lead role. Will a rather unknown actor be cast, or an experienced star? Who could you imagine as Clint Eastwood's successor? Let us know in the comments. News from the fashion world. 18 years have passed since we were presented with a genuine cult hit in the form of The Devil Wears Prada. Now a sequel is being planned, and the first details of the plot are already available. As Variety reports, The Devil Wears Prada 2 will once again be about Miranda Priestley, played by Meryl Streep, who has come to terms with the end of her career. This development forces her to confront her former assistant Emily, who now holds an executive position at a luxury company. It can therefore be assumed that cast around Meryl Streep, Anne Hathaway, and Emily Blunt will be back. Anything else would make little sense in the context of a classic sequel. Initial reports suggest that author Aline Brosh McKenna, who wrote the script for Part 1, will once again be responsible for the screenplay. David Frankel could be back as director, although this has not been confirmed at this stage. And we have yet to be given a possible release date as well. We hope you enjoyed the news we shared here. If you want to get even more excited, we recommend checking out our latest movie preview of Toy Story 5, which is set for release in 2026. But first, let us know your thoughts on the news and what other information you've heard of. Don't forget to like the video, and see you next time. Your KinoCheck team.